Hello and welcome. So, a couple weeks ago, I believe May 29th, 30th, 2024, I had the opportunity to have a discussion with Oscar Wolfman Lopez. Now, this individual, he's one of the not only few, but he's been the longest running reader who has used shadow light tarot and actually has began producing videos offering his services and readings to those who tune in. On top of that, he's known for traveling all over based off the west coast of the Americas and traveling all around, and he goes solo with his bike, so he's able to just adventure and explore areas that you can't just always do. But going out in nature is the biggest lesson you can do for yourself, because it reconnects you to life and it teaches you so many unique aspects that we sometimes escape from in the comfort of home. So exploring the world gives us experience, and that experience guides us. It gives us the energy, it gives us the wisdom, it gives us the ability to witness some potential of what's going on in the world, even our way through it, even in navigation through forest or a desert. The way that we arrive at the other side, it's not that we reached it, but it's what did we discover along the way? What did we witness? What did we pick up that taught us something? What has connected us? And at the same time too, being in nature, the life force energy, the way that we connect to it, it strengthens us up so much to be more of ourselves by supporting us naturally by the constructs of what it means to just be you, be human, be the intent of the light, the construct of not only who you are, but the soulful nature and embodying the light of how you are, to the degree that you are truly who you come to the world as, and only you can do that unapologetically. So there's a lot that comes into play when having a discussion with somebody who also works with this exploration, because you gain an experience, and then to enrich it, he utilizes my hand illustrated deck Shadowlight Tarot, and he ultimately cultivates these messages from reading the symbols and having the intent to be present. But the utilization of my deck as a tool has brought my own fascination of not only receiving messages personally from him through his public videos, but to also uncover that I'm not here alone, that I see this deck in the wild, that I'm witnessing it, that I see something that brought itself through the journey of what I am, that experience that my nature explored, and to witness this and feel so at home while also knowing that I've gone so long on my journey, to see where I've come from and also reconnect with part of myself that traveled this part of myself, this world, this art, this heart, you can call it, the way in which we navigated the time that we were given, this emittance of who we are and how we are. I'm just so captivated to see it and utilize it, and to see it serve itself, the deck alone, as this vehicle to bring forth messages, to give us insight, to give even ideas and concepts. And divination alone covers this concept of being able to just simply understand the symbols that communicate to us on a daily basis based off how in tune we are to be present, to be grounded, to be in nature once more. And a lot of that has to do with the way that we're able to simply ask a question. Sometimes messages come to us without our awareness. Sometimes the answer comes to us without us being able to fully identify it. But then it shows up in its own way, in its own language, just like a dream at night. The customization of the symbols that we experience ultimately and always give us the language that we can communicate more, so that we can understand what type of energy is this, what do we relate it to, how do we relate to one another. And I'm exploring this new series where I connect to others. I connect to individuals that not only inspire me, but bring forth something I'd like to appreciate in the world, have a discussion, a conversation. And I'm sure this will be the first of many with Oscar, and the way that he utilizes the deck as a tool to provide these messages is something that honors not only the art that I brought to the world, but it offers something that it is beyond what the art is. It is the individual honoring their nature to create the message, to create the presence, the landscape for this nature to blossom out and into the world through being. And I think it's just a wonderful experience to both witness, gone through the creation process, but have a secondary life of its own experience that provides not only additional insight, but nature to offer that communication through the various synchronicities in which you may discover along your path. And I'm sure many of those who honor who they truly are and allow themselves to bring into focus who they are, then they can ultimately become closer to perceiving universal one, the connectedness, nature itself. The voice of communication of nature is a language that we don't communicate with the language in which we identify. It's the language in which we feel. It's the way we absorb light. So today, I'd like you to explore our first discussion together as we just dived into some like small little bouncing off things. We'll see and maybe structure the way we go about it in the future. And maybe we even do a question and answer depending on type of community involvement. But today I'd like you to witness our first, discussion together as we connect and offer our own unique experiences on our points of view of not only the occult, but the esoteric structures that just make up the systems of our not only reality, but the structures of how we are, who we are, even the nature of our bodies all follow these same constructs that hold us together. And the way we can identify and communicate that is something that only those with the gifted abilities to be able to not only take a chance, have the courage to explore, to find out, but to find out on the other side what it's like to shine, what it's like to give back to the world, to give something that is beyond yourself. So have faith. And as always, continue to stay true. So thank you for tuning in and enjoy.
When I read tarot cards or when I get into any sort of magical practice, I really feel the interconnectedness with the external energies that I'm drawing. And with that said, it's not me entirely. It's a interconnectedness that's taking place. Just like you mentioned, nature, what was it you said? Nature lives out nature or something along those lines.
Oh, it's nature communicating by nature. But I also say we are of nature, for nature, by nature. So it's like a trinity of fractalness in which we're all coming together to being.
And it's absolutely paramount. It's
both.
Right. And it's a thing that is absolutely paramount because there is no sense of detachment. You could try to detach, but we're dependent of this connection. We become whole. You know, it's similar to binary forces, masculine and feminine. They are interdependent in order for this unity to come about. One cannot live without the other. And this applies to so many different dimensions, from quantum physics to, just the terrestrial life of humans and animals, you know? So, yeah, that's something that I've been diving into as I'm reading the Hermetic book, what is it called? It's called the Emerald Tablet, the Kabbalah.
Oh, the Emerald Tablet, but yeah.
Yeah. Have you taken a look at that?
I was like, okay, so like I have a strange relationship in terms of just like books in general. I love visions. I love visuals. And like, I do collect amazing books. And I actually work with people who like were very like dedicated to like the Thoth as like the Egyptian god. So I did like a lot of artwork back then, but I never did enough to like jump into it. But every single time I'd like check out any of these sources, they're all saying the same thing, just in a different way, in a different fashion. And what I try to do is I try to unify that. So like for me, I created a tarot deck because I love symbols. That's just my attraction as an artist. I love to embody symbols and stuff. I like to put so many fractal layers in it that you'll see it when you see it. I like to provide that into a possibility to show that universe can do that, because it's like me honoring nature. I study nature to show how I can best create nature, and creation itself is nothing more than nature in process. So when we are diving in, I can see within myself the ability to want to create symbols, the ability to understand, like, I think over a decade ago, I did go to college for a little bit for like design. It wasn't like the best, but it was like paying a bunch for a piece of paper. I think experience is worth more than anything else, and we don't have to pay for it. But like while I was there, I was doing this process of creating this app for the science of astrology. And they looked at me like, oh, astrology isn't science. And the whole concept is I'm drawn to this. I'm drawn to create this. I'm drawn to understand this, because part of me in this body, in this configuration, in this moment of time expressing my dance, I just happen to be able to be given the right tools, the right perspective, the right balance with nature to bring this into reality, to bring shadow light, to bring explorations in astrology, to bring the philosophical nature, to bring my expressionist out. I deconstruct this because, like you said, like psychology brings us to understand one another. But when you look at psychology and then you compare it to astrology, psychology is just wanting to be astrology while trying to give the basic functions of an academic point of view. So when you look at astrology, what makes us us? What makes us how we are? What makes us to that is just as much as how we can arrive through synchronicity of just like tarot and divination, which gives you the same answer, but it provides it in a way through the symbol of universe talking to you, communicating to you. It's the synchronicity of, all right, you have the potential to ask the question for universe to arrive it into being, into knowledge, into awareness. How we work with that, how it manifests, comes from the energy, the dance of how we're bringing it into. So we have the potential to direct our energy. So when you're drawing a card, more likely than not, you know in that moment, your energy, even if it's not a mental energy, even if it's like a feeling, even if it's from your heart, just knowing, I just need something right now, even if it's instant, you don't have to process, it's like breathing. So when you draw that, you're drawing in universe, you're bringing in universe. And because you utilize a set of symbols, the same way you have a dream, the same way you navigate reality, it's these set of symbols that speak to us, that tell us, that see how we're interconnected to the world, of the world, but like also part of it. So it's like a journey we get to enjoy, a journey we get to explore to the fullest. And as we all come into like knowing of that, a lot of us are going to just wake up and explore so much more potential that was sitting inside of us, like an artist being suppressed. Sometimes it's time to create. Sometimes it's time to share it with the world. And the fact that we're timing things to come together when they are is like the building blocks to know that we can pass the baton on of energy so that they play off one another until you get this symphony of creation happening where we're all interconnected in one way or another, just part of this dance. And it's effortless when we honor our nature, honor ourselves, because that's going to be like our biggest key. So for you, what's it like when you're like drawing the card, when you're acting in the synchronicity while also being a communicator? Because I have a couple perspectives that I can totally play off and like even break down like your expression of symbols of why you're so good at it without even knowing you too well. But like, I love having nature speak for itself. I love being able to have experience express itself like nature. I capture nature in the light of it because I want to honor and like appreciate it for what it is.
Right.
And that's one of the greatest things to like recognize as an artist, that like nature, universe itself is the work of art. And even if we're a part of it, even if we're a creation's creation, we can honor the functions, the coming together of how we all came into this moment, this present, and continuously are here, not only just be provided and guided, but to welcome in potential, welcome in our exploration of potential and our exploration of what it's like to be in this experience. Even some of us subconsciously doing it, or the way we direct our energy. It's just a whole range of how much we can actually connect into the world.
Right. I'm quite excited for you, man. It really sounds like like you're living your authentic journey. Truly, it's like you're listening to your inner self, and your work shows for it. It's the illustration, man. I'm drawn to black art. So when I came to this tarot deck, I think I found it on Google. I was just mesmerized by it, and I don't think I've set it down since. The illustrations are amazing, and man, I absolutely love it. In fact, a lot of people on my channel have requested information. I send them information all the time, so people comment, they want the name of the deck, and I refer them, but it's a pleasure to connect with you, man. And what I find interesting is, I'm not too sure if you read tarot. I know that you're the illustrator and creator. However, how versed are you in reading tarot?
Oh, dude, it's like secondhand nature to me.
Okay.
It's like drawing. So for me,
let me tell you why I asked.
And give it away.
Let me tell you why I asked, because you included 5, I think it was 5 or 4 extra cards, which basically talked about, or it was an archetype. It was the astrologer, it was the practitioner, it was the herbologist. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly, because I didn't use those 5 archetypes. Do you recall?
Yeah.
And then you had the artist, and I'm like, this guy must identify as the artist. That's
the thing. I kickstarted this deck, and I had the opportunity, because like I'll create the deck, but publishing it, getting it produced, putting the money down to say, hey, print this onto ink and share it with the world. That's what I love doing. So I make most of my creations like nonprofit. I don't really like profit off it. I'm just like happy just to be. So when I share that, I just want to get like people behind it. And like I try to make multiple stuff over the years, but like it hits or miss depending on how you're connected to the network. So like for me, when I was creating the deck, I had stretch goals, and I was like, I'll offer 5 additional cards on top of 5 additional elementals. And for me, when I did that, I offered the ability that anybody could like help toss a little extra money to help the deck produce itself, and they could become a card. 3 people took that opportunity. There was 2 cards left that did not get claimed. So in that one, I put the artist, and in the other one, I put the wild. The wild was pretty much nature itself, while also incorporating like the animals I had at that time. So it's an expression of myself. And then with artist one, that one was like an honor to Leonardo da Vinci, an artist that like I personally have a lot of connection to. Even the 2 tattoos on my arms right now are like Leonardo da Vinci. So like it's something I knew even like early on when I got these, that like it's just what I'm drawn to. It's like part of myself communicating to myself. So when I did these 2, I look at like creation itself. Now, if I break down the symbols of the other 3, I believe we got the tarot reader, we got the practitioner, and I believe the astrologer. The astrologer was the other one too. So like they all technically, even though universe is like funny in its way, it does its symbols, me being the creator of those creations right there do embody that I create this additional extension of not just this set, but these set of archetypes. So part of me is an artist, part of me is wild, part of me is practitioner, part of me is a terror.
And it's probable,
synchronistic. Exactly, the 5. He's more at itself. Like when you got the 5 and the V, all you're seeing is the reflection of phi itself, the golden ratio coming into being. And 100%. It's crazy.
100%. I find it fascinating because I got the symbol.
Exactly. I mentioned them.
Yeah, man. So in regards to your question earlier about reading tarot, if I can explain it somehow, I tap into a state of mind. I get into a meditative state. All right. I get into a meditative state. I call upon my spirit guides or a specific spirit, depending on whether I'm trying to communicate or what I'm trying to do here. But typically when I do these collective readings on YouTube, I just call upon my higher self. I call upon my spirit guides, and I tap into that energy, and it just flows. It really flows. It's whatever message comes forth is what I go with. I don't question it. I really just, after doing it for so long, I have quite an understanding, and it's the intuition really is what connects all the dots. I don't get into an analytical state and I'm trying to make the connections myself.
Your expression of it all is like spot on. The way that you tap into it, spot on. The way that you pull the cards, I related it to when I was a kid. I used to just jump across rocks going across a stream. And it's trusting the process that you're going to land on the next rock. And when you get across in that quick manner, over a period of time, you build the confidence because you trust yourself. And when you trust yourself enough, you honor the process of knowing who you are. And when you know yourself to work with universe, you're an expressionist. Like you said, it takes two edges of the coin. You allow universe to unravel, but then you translate what it's trying to express. And I think when we're working with tarot, whether we're working with oracle, whether we're working with divination in general, even like reading tea leaves or casting a chart on the spot, even astrologically, shows you so much based off the timing of what are the chances to provide the symbols of the energy in this motion, in this area of what you're experiencing, in the perception of the I in which you are. So you offer yourself opportunity for universe to speak. It's like saying, here, let me provide you a voice. And in which case, you're utilizing the synchronicity of your body. And when you're in flow and harmony, you reach to the other side. And even like when we're slip or trip, or even if we like feel a little less confident, when we're like guided to get to the right point, like you said, you pull another card. You allow universe to continue unfolding upon itself so that you gain clarity to help you. It's like a wound healing. Universe always likes to come back to wholeness. So even if we are slightly departed, we still can find a way to come back to the origin of who we are, the I of our experience. And when you have an experience, you're working with universe, you're working with nature. You can pull random number generators to offer something. You can offer synchronicity even through a system of like, let's say you look at the timing of a clock, even if you look at it on a digital sense versus the analog sundial timing of it all, we still have this woven tapestry of universe using all these mediums to come together. And this symbols that whether we're attracted to or subconsciously bring through us, or even universe expressing it from the outside in, inside out, it's still finding a way to be communicative. It's like us as a body communicating with a cell, and the cell is on board to bring itself to the body to assist it. So even if we like stub a toe, we, through the power of our mind, like you said, have the capacity to upsample that experience of, like, let's say, communicating with that cell for the cell to harmonize. So we harmonize the space. Like you said, you tap into to find the right connection when it feels right. You honor that probably more than ever as a tarot reader. Sometimes we do have to show up. Sometimes we provide the message, but the message itself is no differently than an artist creating art, because then universe provides that to show up in who it needs to. And based off our nature, based off the way we communicate it, based off even the synchronicity of like having something at the right place at the right time, you just happen to say something that has to be said in a way that can be connected. And not everyone has the same buildup, the same archetype, the same construct translation. So some of us may not be able to process that as clearly. And we act as the translators, just like a psychologist acts as those who help us explore the mind, who help us explore how we process. And that's mercurial, which is no different than what you're bringing up with even the magician, the welcoming in of how to work with this light, how to take this light into being from coming into existence and providing it connection, providing it the ability to be. When you have zero, you have the whole, you have the O, you have the emitting field, which is almost to say feminine, but it's the existence of existence. But when you have I, you have purely existence from existence. So you have the connection. It comes into being. So the magician right there is to utilize the forces. It connects both ways. It's the fractalness. It's the eyeball of us perceiving the sun, just like we're the eyeball of that which is the cell. And then you have the cell, you also have the self. The cell is a containment, while the self is the flow. So we're ultimately a fractal flow. Where we are on it is syncing with the rhythm of the jazz of universe. And as a tarot reader, you bring in clarity for like the healing to come into awareness. You bring in clarity to provide us those messages. It's like custom tuning a shuffled playlist and then bringing it all together so that your favorite songs speak your message to you.
Right. And you know what's so fascinating, Eric, is that this harmonizing that you're talking about is basically the universe orchestrating this within our own minds. So one thing that I realized right now that you said an artist, the artist does the same thing as a tarot reader in regards to getting their state of mind into that alpha brain frequency. So right now, you and I are in this beta frequency where we're really interactive, analytical. You're listening to what I'm saying, and your mind's already thinking about what to respond, etc. You got your own ideas. But when we tap into this state of mind as an artist or as a tarot reader, we basically lower that brain frequency and we allow room for this hidden or occult essence, the hidden essence of the universe, to channel through us. So that's a huge factor, I feel, when it comes to reading tarot, is actually getting into that meditative state. If we're too frantic, if we're too analytical, too tense, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. We have to...
The mental operator.
Exactly. We have to get that ego out of the way, the brain chatter out of the way, so that these messages could be lucid to us and we can convey them. You know, and another key point that we touched on regarding the magician, I feel one of the greatest lessons that archetype teaches is self-realization, is actually realization of who you are, what you're capable of. This is faith that we're talking about. You knowing that you're able to wield these forces, to channel this energy, is the first step to being able to do so. Because if you embark on this journey and you're experiencing self-doubt, which a lot of us do, I did. For many years, I would read tarot cards and never read it for anybody. And I would doubt. I was like, man, is this accurate? Am I doing this right? What's the right method to do it? And now that I've been doing it for over half my life, it's completely malleable. I have a completely different understanding of how to work energy. And, that's another thing that you mentioned is we are our own translators. So we're going to read these symbols completely different. We're going to convey them differently than everybody else in our own unique manner. And we're going to mold this practice to our personal liking. So that's something that's quite appreciative regarding energy work, is that it's completely malleable to the practitioner's own will. And that is the magician. That you are your own projection. You are your own creator of your own reality.
You create all this.
Exactly. And, that's one thing that I feel a lot of people get stuck on, as I did when I was really beginning to learn this practice, is the right steps. And we get into this whole pragmatic way of thinking of like, okay, how do I need to think? What step do I need to take? When in reality, you need to shut that off and tap into your intuition. We're so obsessed or just naturally inclined to try to control everything. And when it comes to spiritual work, it's about complete relinquishment of control and just becoming that channel to allow the energy to flow, if you will. That's my perspective.
I totally agree with you. I like to observe myself so many times because I deconstruct dreams. And as a lucid dreamer, I break down the symbols so easily. So when I bring that into here, I break down the symbols even more. So in my perspective, I operate as an operator. But as I mentioned to you, the story about hopping rocks, sometimes you can slip. But the thing is, some of those journeys don't require calculations. They just require the will. And when you have just the will, you can bring so much into being. But at the same time, too, like you're saying, that intuition to breathe, we can't become aware of the breathing. It just has to process. And when we try to control that breathing, we can improve the way we express it. We can improve the way your brain can become center and work with energy. But sometimes it's that listening that brings us in to bring the world through us as us. And that's the receptivity. That's like you touched on, very important. It's the way of being able to recognize the uniqueness in which we communicate, because that's how universe is communicating through us.
100%. This actually leads us to the second lesson of the major arcana, which is the high priestess, the feminine aspect of our being, essentially. So the masculine, the magician is all about the projection, the will, and the ambition of going out there and actually doing it, right? Projecting your desire into reality and making it happen. Well, now, when it comes to reading tarot, what's next is that high priestess, which is that sensitivity. It's that openness. It's that receptiveness of being able to allow this energy to come and channel through. The intuition is highly connected with that. I mean, the intuition is exactly that. The high priestess is a symbol that I have a very close affinity with since I began my spiritual journey. I began as a Wiccan. Well, I was actually a Catholic, and at the age of 16, I just didn't resonate with it. Sure enough, I found Wicca, and I found it to be an extraordinary practice because it's a very elemental-based practice. So, it teaches a lot about connecting with the elements, connecting with the earth, connecting with the moon, etc. And when I began to practice these rituals, I began to have results. I actually experienced divinity through nature, and it just began an entire journey a lifelong journey of spiritual exploration.
Like yourself and your experience is so fine-tuned. It's almost like I created this deck for you to have this you to express the message. And that's what like the beauty of all of it coming together.
Right.
Because like I am not attached to how it's accepted, how it is. But when I watch it and witness it, I can see the dance of it harmonizing in its flow. It's where you set that boat ashore, but then you can see it on the horizon line, like it's on its journey. I love it. And then when you see the journey it actually has, it's the reason why we bring creation into the world. Because the experience you have, what you bring into being, embodies so much more than anything else, period. It's just how we are, who we are.
I can only imagine what that process was like of, basically embedding all this symbology through the creation of this tarot deck. I feel that it's possibly the best way to actually embed the knowledge and learn it, because you're experiencing it. And not only that, you're illustrating it. So this is your subconscious projecting knowledge that you've put into your brain. So it's already vibrating within you, and you're allowing your imagination just to unfold. How long did it take you to create the entire deck?
So I knew over a period of time, I started in like the early 2010s where I used to do band shirts. I used to make my own clothing line. So what I did from there was I started creating visual awakenings, which were like cultic illustrations that I would just screen print on the shirts.
Speaking of which, check it out.
Dude, yeah, I recall illustrating that on a huge piece of paper, each face, each skull, each body, each planet. And like, I just knew like one day I'll do a tarot deck. So like after about maybe 4 years of exploring, just like creating the illustrations, I was like, it's time to tap into a tarot deck. And like, I knew when I do it, I'll do with all my heart. So when I was doing the deck itself, I explored the major arcana as a start. I didn't know exactly how I was going to express it.
Were you already a tarot reader?
I was experiencing astrology and tarot through various readings, but I'm like, I'll put it this way. The best way to embody it in the shortest statement possible is to say, sometimes universe makes happy accidents. When we're subconscious, it comes through us. There's times where I witness in my art sacred geometry that just shows up. Because I'm like, am I that good, or am I subconsciously just like trusting the process that comes through me? So a lot of it is a halfway. It's not like a embodied into mentality, because so where I'm at now in terms of deconstructing symbols, even right now, has gone beyond the tarot, has gone beyond astrology. I wanted to see what was at the horizon, and I'm continuously going. And the way I'm deconstructing so much is now just knowing that I just like cut wood and carry water at this point. And it's so interesting because now I look forward to each and every day I get to have an experience, having all this, a part of me, part of the universe, a part of your creation of universe, provide the potential to see it all come together. It's knowing like you built the city, you built the resources, you open sourced, you created pretty much water that comes from a spring that forever can provide nurturing, potential, energy for us to operate, to do, to be. So a part of me is just, I know that creating these tools helps me. So 2 years was spent on major arcana, just figuring out
just major
what type of expression.
Wow.
Yeah. And like I made like tapestry sized detailed cards of art. Now these were like, some were black and white, some were in color, some were trippy, but they ultimately took the same compositions that arrived in Shadowlight Tarot. They were just more refined once I decided to feel like this style is what I feel like I'm ready to commit to. Explore 70 plus cards interconnect it and do something that like I'm even beyond the capacity to understand. And most of the cards coming together come from me understanding symbols over a period of time. Also exploring, I know I have this negative space here. So I fill it in with what feels right. That's like intuition of the feminine comes into being. You're feeling your way out without looking. That's taking it in. That's taking a sense to know it's there, even if we don't see it, but it's there. So trusting that, trusting wherever you are is also where you're meant to be. Our ability to trust all, get that pencil down, get that art out. Because even the message you carry with the tarot, to get it out, carries more than anything else you will ever need to know. You are the process. But as that art continues on, you know it's in good hands.
100%. So look, you touched on an excellent point right now regarding tapping into the feminine essence and feeling our way through because we can't see, right? And if we look at the world today, we definitely live in a masculine energy dominated world. We're sent out into the world to pursue our ambitions, to make something of our life, and women as well. They're in this energy, right? We live in a hungry world, in a competitive world, etc. The masculine energy dominates. Now, when it comes to spirituality, the feminine energy is absolutely paramount. The masculine energy is not going to get you there, other than just taking you to the door.
Yeah, but all the symbols in the tarot speak to you. It's where you're getting your education from. You can learn it from nature, going outside and receiving it. You can get it through your experience. You can get it through the tarot. You can get it anywhere. And even all the cultures, they speak this language. Whether we are able to listen, be receptive to actually understanding and not get in our own way, can we actually see what's there? And if you trust that process, even if it's not fake it till you make it, it's touching the water that will forever be a part of the memory that you're building.
100%. Touching on that 1, 2, 3, it's absolutely paramount, I feel, with any form of manifestation or any form of inner transformation. And what, in a mundane perspective, in a psychological perspective, all that entails is essentially your conscious aspect merging with your subconscious. So when you actually believe something and your conscious is actually, confirming that, then it unifies. There isn't that contrary. It's kind of like, let's just say people want to manifest love in their life, yet on a subconscious level, they feel abandoned or they feel unworthy, etc. Their conscious aspect is saying, you know what, I want love, but deep down, unconsciously, they feel unworthy of it. And there goes that contradiction. But when there's that unification between the one, which is the active or the conscious, with the two, which is the feminine and the subconscious, boom, you get that impregnated high priestess, which is the empress, the unity. You get to that 3. So it's actually quite simple to understand. And I feel that we are able to reach or unify these aspects of us through different methods. Meditation is one, visualization, ritual encompasses all those things. That's why I feel ritual is so powerful, because you're actually using visualization, you're activating your senses, you may be listening to music to, deepen your trance state, and you're basically just overloading your senses with tools that are going to facilitate you in going deeper and deeper and deeper into your subconscious, ultimately helping you reprogram yourself, I feel. But
get this too.
Tell me.
You can do the same thing just walking in nature. We harmonize to that organic rhythm.
It's probably even It's probably even easier with nature. Absolutely. Nature is everything. It's a teacher, it's a healer, it's an illuminator. 100%. I agree. And it's quite sad that a lot of people don't get out and they just kind of neglect the potency of nature.
So when we're able to, like, for example, just go out in nature, we reharmonize into who we are. We're not only brought into a greater being, but we're gifted by all the nature around us, also communicating with us, also passing on its wisdom, also giving us the harmony of the song that you can call nature, that you can call harmony, in tune, not disrupted. Like you said, we live too much in a masculine world. You can see the homes that most people live in are square, they're rigid, they use masculinity. You can use our way that we utilize systems and grids, the electricity that we pass all around, even though it has a magnetic force, is a highly masculine first device. It's meant to bring one thing to another. It's the way that you can see the symbols show up in our reality is showing the fractal of where we are as a whole. Because a lot of us individually have the capacity to tap into synchronicity, whether we want to or not. Even sometimes it's just having the ability to look and just breathe. And other times we get so caught up, and many of us get so caught up not only in the operator, but the games operating around us, because we want to show up. We want to feel full. We look for something to fill a void, but in reality, we are the ones that left that void there because we are the ones who are supposed to be in it. We're the ones who are supposed to take that void of this body, this being, and bring it to the world to create. We have our unique crystals. Like you said, everyone's wounded somewhere. And I see this in astrology. You will always see someone who always has a Chiron. And Chiron, even if you break the words down, it's just chi and iron. It's the way that chi comes into being, how it forms, how our energy centers form. That's where you see more of a solidity, more of a challenge. And many of us, when they show Chiron, even in astrology, it's the wounded healer. You have to become wounded to know what it's like to go through that, to heal yourself so that you can heal others, so that they don't end up in that big thing I'm into. I call it the art of symbolism, because it's like looking at symbolism, but it's like deconstructing what universe is trying to say to you. I used to deconstruct all my dreams. I've been doing that for like over a decade, recording my dreams and understanding them. But now coming into reality with that, all that practice, I'm deconstructing the reality. So like my whole idea of like creating something came from the idea that it's waking reality. It's bringing it into lucidity. It allows synchronicity to operate into coming into itself. Because when we come into more of ourselves, we're having universe come more into itself, more potential, more exploration, more experience wants to be. And that's part of why we're here. It's always going to want to be. It's just based off what we have availability, which is why you'll have your angels, which is why you'll have your spirits, which is why you have your people who support you, even if you don't see it. The synchronicity of the right people showing up, the synchronicity of the way that
absolutely
what you've been through has brought you here, and you're still going, but it brought you here because it's continuing to have that dance. It's knowing that the music is going, and the partners we dance with, the way that we communicate, the way that we even connect, all comes into just being able to coordinate with one another. But it's a choreography that doesn't require planning.
100%. You touched on something quite important when it comes to the spiritual path. And it's something that you and I have in common, which is the embodiment of a certain consciousness, I feel. And in order to live this life, this sort of magical life, if you will, there has to be an acceptance of everything being a synchronicity, everything happening for a reason. Just like you mentioned, you're speaking certain things because this is what's meant to be spoken, and we're here for a reason, essentially. And when you really look at life, from my own personal experience, when I look at life through that lens, things just tend to fall into place miraculously, absolutely magically, in a way that just is godly. I mean, out of my control. And that's what's so amazing about this, that I don't have the control. Obviously, I do have control over mundane things of what I'm going to do or what my current goals are. But in greater aspects of experiencing, profound magic, if you will, magic in life, that is out of my control. I just have to be receptive to it. I just have to pay attention to the cues, and they are always there. They're always present. I can communicate with the other side at any given moment. It's there. There's never a detachment. However, this obviously takes a process of different, reaching different states of consciousness and brain activity, rather, so on and so forth. Yeah. But at the core, it's that certain type of consciousness that one accepts and embodies, and that's why life unfolds in such a way.
I agree 100%. Even there's times where I doubt the process because I don't see it. I trust that I did it for a reason. But at the same time, too, I know we can go out of note, we can go out of key, we can slip up, or we get too caught up in what we're doing, or we can get carried away even. And that carried away is knowing that we are a force, but that force itself is just one aspect of it. Because when we come into union, for example, that consciousness level, that way in which we state how we are presently, comes to our ability to work with what we have. For example, imagine an artist being able to utilize more tools can do more. Just like a creator who wants to create more in creation wants to make sure that it's able to be receptive. So, for example, giving your body enough rest, giving your body the ability to refuel, to function, to do what it needs to do so that you can do you effortlessly. And then when you understand that you got that rhythm down, you get into a larger rhythm. And that larger rhythm is, once that's on tap, like provides you with a greater momentum, a greater capacity to see the widening of the wave, to see the potential. And the more synchronistic you are, the more you know you're coming into yourself. And if you even embody your potential into being, like, let's say it's your soul coming into embody into the space, into your field, into your heart, even that, the capacity of how much you're welcoming in, breathing to be, focusing on that center to be, allows you to take in, allows you to be, allows you to have that presence of universe, of creation.
100%. Regarding what you said, my interpretation when it comes to tarot and the lessons in the major arcanas, I feel that, the Wheel of Fortune is what explains exactly what you just said. It's becoming synchronized with the universe. The Wheel of Fortune is not necessarily luck. This is not a lottery that you're winning here out of mere luck. This is more so you attuning yourself, doing everything necessary to attune yourself, whether it's emotionally, health-wise, mentally, spiritually, intentionally, you name it. You align yourself with whatever sort of goal you are seeking to attain, and then you got to leave the rest to the universe, flat out. It's a codependency, or it's a cooperation between two entities, if you will, that eventually make one, right? But it's an interconnectedness that is absolutely paramount, and that's what's so amazing and makes life so, I don't want to say easy, because life is not easy. It's full of difficult lessons, painful lessons, but even that goes back to this divinely orchestrated reality. The pain is all part of it. The struggle, the doubts, the lack of faith, all those things are part of your realization. And again, everything's interconnected. And you have to attune to the universe, really, if you're wanting to unravel yourself in such a profound way, because your mind alone, your own carnal self, isn't enough. You have to be able to experience it all and allow the divinity of the universe to come into your life. And this, again, goes into you becoming synchronized with the universe. By you attuning yourself to it, you do your part and the universe responds. Regarding Nikola Tesla, he said something that you kind of touched on, which is everything is energy. And I think one of his quotes is, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in energy, frequency, and something else. I don't remember the quote exactly. Vibration. There you go. So breaking that down, because you said it's all energy, essentially, and that's absolutely true. Now, when it comes to tapping into and working that energy, we simply have to use the tools that we have, which is the imagination, visualization, because visualization activates the mind and it induces feelings. It produces energy, certain frequencies of energy within our body. So we use the tools to arouse this energy and create it in order to project it, I feel. And again, one thing that I've been exploring a lot this whole past year is delving into rituals. And rituals are just something I find so fascinating, because they facilitate us to just go so deep within the mind to a level that is just otherworldly, truly. You close yourself off from the world, right? Everything's dark. All you have is your candles and whatever sort of elemental tools that you're using to help you. And then from there, it's just pure mentalism. And what's happening is you're using these external tools. It's not like the candle or the incense or the plants have the power. Yes, they do hold an energetic frequency. However, you're using those tools to help you entrance yourself and go deeper and deeper and deeper to have that effect into your reality, whether it's reprogramming your mind or whether you're doing some sort of spell casting and wanting to manifest something, you name it. The key, I feel, is found deep within your mind, not in the analytical mind. You can understand it and you can make it comprehensible to others through this part of the mind, through the active part of the mind. But the power, when it comes to spirituality and working energy, is in the subconscious. I feel. Then again, everything's interconnected. You need both. One cannot work without the other.
Yeah. It's a dance.
It's a dance.
The fact that you like ride a motorcycle, you like the idea of having a vehicle that can go places other vehicles cannot. You like the idea of being able to explore places other people have not. You like the idea of being able to explore potentials, like the whole idea of, even if you take a look at Lilith, being able to go into the feminine of the underworld, even shadow light as the name itself. You go into the shadow to find the light. You go to find that light because it's there too. You go because that light itself has more to it. And it's like that unique treasure that you come across. And the thing is, that light comes from everywhere. So even if we're not acknowledging the shadow still has light to offer us.
That makes sense. That makes absolute sense. And we go back to divination. These are just simply tools. But an individual can read tarot cards as they can read the clouds or, feel the way. There's just, energy is absolutely malleable. There is no limit to your own will. You can do this. You can decipher numbers. You can decipher shapes, whatsoever you want. Divinity is everywhere.
And that's going back to your question. Do I read tarot cards? I do, but I also read universe and nature.
Absolutely.
I guess that the world is my tarot card, you can say.
Absolutely.
It's just what I work with is how I bring it out. I just know, like, that's why we're healers. That's why we can bring light into being, because we bring universe ability to come together. That's what healing, true healing is, because when we're like taking the word healing, like my friend Tori, who I've been doing my podcast with, she's like being there with me as I'm deconstructing a lot of symbolism. And like, I get into it, like deconstructing, and it's like the L, like it's the parameter and the parameter and the parameter. And I'm like, it is masculine deconstruction, but we're taking it to a level that we have not yet explored that creates new tools for new people to be able to create better connections. It's like understanding, all right, this didn't work, but this speaks and harmonizes more. So let's take what we already have to work with and let's turn it into that, which aids everyone involved. So when you open source something, you're open sourcing, you're bringing the light in, you're allowing it to show up where it needs to. And for me, every single time I create something, I create it from scratch. I open source it. I just tell myself, explore it. See what's on the other side, see where that light goes, because I don't have that attachment. I just let it go because I trust the process. I know it's supposed to end up where it's been to. And I don't keep up with it. I just am. And even if you can't always see it all, it shows itself to us. So it's a journey of journeys, giving us the ability to not only reconnect, but connect in the way that we can only face all that time. And even the wounds we carry, the shapes we become, the way we hold, or the way we move our water and cut wood, we all have something to contribute. And like your gift, the way that you bring into the world, the way that you connect, the lessons that you even bring to me are worth more than anything else that I can ever put a price tag on. I'm not the type of person to buy things because I create things. And when you create things, the way you have a value system is different because you realize that everyone's a creator. You realize everyone has the light of potential. You realize everyone brings something into being. And that's that uniqueness. I try to tell everyone, work for themselves, find a way, look inside themselves, because the answers are waiting for you. And if they're not waiting for you, they're waiting to show up for you, because all of us have that potential. But the uniqueness we have to offer through that potential is like the luck of the draw. It's knowing that the deck is shuffled. And sometimes that's when the greatest messages come from it all. Because even when you play music on shuffle and it speaks to you, it tells you a message. It's either the groove you need to tune into, or maybe it's at that time, it's trying to give you something to be more of yourself. It will arrive.
I'm baffled by how much we haven't spoken about. Something that I actually wrote down in my notes that I want to talk or discuss with you and deconstruct with. I want to touch on lucid dreaming. I want to touch on the Kabbalistic teachings, as well as their, how it's interwoven with the major arcanas and the 22 pathways. Also, the fool's journey is something that I feel we can, share knowledge on that I think would be quite spectacular. So, dude,
crazy.
Let's plan to do this. Let's plan to continue this soon.